So when I say the name Daniel Day-Lewis, the first thing that comes to mind for me is, oddly enough, Lincoln from 2012. And then lo and behold, I also discover that he was also been having one heck of a mustache in There Will Be Blood. Academy Award winner and Best Actor Daniel Day-Lewis and Best Cinematography Robert Elswit, ASC, whatever that is. Widely acclaimed masterpiece and must-see American epic features the Academy Award winning performance of Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Plainview and Son are independent oilmen looking for prospects in California at the turn of the 20th century. They are challenged by a young preacher, Eli Sunday, played by Paul Dano, whose own ambition is matched by Plainview's. Their battle forms the center of a scary, darkly comic historical journey into an abyss of madness. There Will Be Blood is Paul Thomas Anderson's epic American nightmare, belching fire and brimstone and damnation. It is above all a consummate work of art, like someone from the New York Times. Manola Dargis. Yes, I would have to agree. This is a powerful movie. Based off of a 1926 book called Oil. And with permission from the author's estate, descendants, whatever. They did a dang good job. And what this is the power and corruption of greed and capitalism when it goes too far. And also, the dying days of the frontier, like, I don't want to exactly say cowboys, there is someone that's like the very last gasp of a man who discovered gold in them Dow hills, or oil in this case. So yeah, obviously, it's about like the man who has good intentions. At first, it's like saying, hey, I'm just here, I just want some oil, he's willing to be friendly with the people who are operating the land and everything, but then he starts to get he's even got his like son and everything, and the son there kind of acts as a balance towards for him. I'm thinking, okay, so what's going on? But at the same time, when he gets challenged by Eli Sunday, who's also a caricature, I guess you could say, going on and saying, hey, you are the church, the third church of Revelation. I think it was $5,000 or whatever. And he really starts to become something. And like, okay, I'm thinking, what's this battle that they're having? Well, then what I noticed is, like, when they christen an oil rig, Eli is saying, hey, make sure that you allow me to do it real quick. It would be minimal, but it would be very important to the townsfolk here. And I'm thinking, alright then. He doesn't. And that starts some interesting, I guess, the dichotomy going on. So we get a lot of tension with the family that Eli has, is like saying, hey, you're allowing this person to come in here. It's like, hey, he's trying to get oil, and what can we do to stop him? So, it's like, obviously, the father and son get into some arguments and stuff like that. There's a physical altercation which took me by surprise. And then we also have Plainfield himself, who then starts to get power hungry. It's like he deals with some, I don't want to call them bigwigs, just some people who have some land. He's willing to put forth money and everything else, and is like saying, hey, I want some more. And he does whatever he needs to. I mean, even his own son, played by the Dylan, whatever his name is. This is actually his only role, but it's a powerful role. This kid is, it's not like he's there just to portray, doesn't have any agency. It's like, he's shooting his own firearms. He has his own speech and everything else. Is like, he's saying like, hey, I'm here. But when he gets, when an explosion occurs at a rig and gets deafened halfway through, Plainview still cares about his son, but eventually realizes he's an asset or a liability, and halfway through, like, sends him to a school for the hard of hearing. And and like leaving him alone on a train. All the meanwhile, there's like, yeah, I'm like, this guy is starting to get ruthless. And at the end, the escalation, like eliminating people, including the person he thought that was like his half brother or what, long lost brother, going through proclaiming, saying, "Hey, I'm the one that's wants to help you out," but ultimately, Plainview eliminates him upon discovering the fakery, and gets a lot of money. And I'm just like, geez, oh Pete's. Ooh. So it's a natural evolution, and at the end we do see that Eli is now a radio minister. That was actually pretty cool. I mean, this was 1927, so. And then we also see Lewis, who now has a full-fledged goatee. Lives in a mansion with a bowling alley, of all things, like a prototype bowling alley. Were they popular back then? Anyway, yeah. An intense exchange happens. I'm just like, jeez. Yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson. I've heard of the name. Here I was subjected to the long panning shots. What I've read was his style is the long panning shots. Specifically, I would say 30 minutes in when they're driving an automobile. We could see the car going behind some buildings, and all the meanwhile the camera is on the the little track right there and following. I thought that was great to, one, highlight the tension occurring, and two, to show off, to force you to pay attention. That's why I like this movie. Forces you to pay attention and engross you. It's not just like a whole bunch of quick cuts or short takes or anything, which is fine for certain things, but for epic dramas such as this, you need to have plot progression. And this, because there's so much kineticism and movement in here. Very specifically, what some scenes I notice is when Plainfield is dragging his son or whatever. Meanwhile, he's walking all around and comes back. Just like a little walking cycle you think would be boring. It wasn't. It was to fill the tension going on. And also when he leaves his son on the train, it's like you get the shot of him right back here, the son back here, and then Plainfield right here to show that, saying the disconnect going on. That's the phrase. And all the meanwhile, of course, there are more like long takes throughout here, but those are the ones that I noticed that I can remember at this current moment. So yeah, what's the only thing that I didn't like? They had 1950s happy industrious music, like do 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 do, and electronica music. What? That didn't make any sense. I mean, maybe it's just ironically, but it just felt out of place, man. I don't know. So, yeah. The music's really the only thing I have to complain about. If that's all, then, this is a freaking powerful movie. Watch There Will Be Blood.